Right, in this video, we're going to look at how to multiply using smart partial products. When students first learn to multiply, a lot of times they see something that's called an open array. So if we see something like 34 times 21, we have students make this open array. Some teachers call it box method. And we'll have 30 and 4. So we'll break this down into tens, and we'll break that into ones. So 30 times 20 is 600. And then 20 times 4 is 80. 30 times 1 is 30. And 1 times 4 is 4. So we get those 4 partials. But there's actually a better way to do this. So instead of doing open array, we can use smart partial products. So if we look at the same problem, 34 times 21, I can actually keep one of those intact and only have 2 partials. So in this case, let's go ahead and keep 34 together. So I'm not going to separate those, and I'm just going to need 2 partials. So I'm going to think of groups of 34. And because I've got groups of 34, all I need is a group of 20 and a group of 1. So to get to 20, I'm going to think 2 first, so that's just a double. So one group would be 34. 2 would be 68. And then to get to 20, I would just need to scale it up. So I multiply those both by 10. 2 times 10 is 20. 68 times 10 would be 680. Now all I have to do is add one more group. Well, I already have the one group. I started with that. So to get to 21 groups, all I have to do is add these 2 partials together, the 20 and the 1. So if I take 20 out of that 34, that gets me to 700. I got 14 left over, so the answer would be 714. So the benefit of this is I really don't have to think about place value because I'm doing a lot of doubling, but even more than that, I only have 2 numbers to add together instead of 4. It works much better. So when I'm first teaching to the students, I'm going to give them a real-world context. So let's say we're going and trying to buy some water bottles for field day at our school. And let's say that the cases of water come in packs of 24. So if we make our ratio table here to help us organize our thoughts, we know that in one case, there's going to be 24 water bottles. And we're just going to build this up. So if we go to 2, that's just going to be a simple double. So one case is 24 water bottles. 2 cases would be 48 water bottles. If I get to 3 water bottles, all I need to do is add. So if I take that 24 and that 48, I would end up with 72 water bottles. All right, so to go to 4, I've got a couple of different ways I can do it. I could add the 1 and the 3 together. That would be 4. That's easy. That's 96. I could also go back to that 2 and double that and go to 96. And that's usually the way that I do that. So I'm going to go ahead and skip 5 for right now. I'm going to run out of some room on my ratio table here. We'd have to readjust that. So I'm going to skip 5 for now. I'm going to go to 6. So to go up to 6, I could go to 5 and 1 if I had that. But I'm going to go to 3. So 72 is a really easy number to double. And 3 doubled is 6. So 7 doubled is 14. That 2 doubled, so that gets me to 144. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move ahead here. And I'm going to fill in 7, 8, 9, and 10. So the easiest way to get to 5 for me is to go and go to 10. And I go back to that 1. One group is 24, so obviously if I multiply them both by 10, 10 would be 240. Now go to 5, I can use a strategy that is called 5 is half of 10. So I go up to that 10, it's 240, and if I just half it, that gets me to 120. Now I could have found that in different ways. I could have taken 2 and 3 and add those together. In this case, I could have added 4 and 1 together, which would have worked really nice. Put that 4 with that 96, get 100, add that 20, I get 120. That would work really well. All right, for 7, a lot of times I'll go 5 to 2. That works really well in this case. 120 plus 148 would be 168. But notice there's a lot of flexibility in here. I could add 3 and 4 together. That would get me to 7. I could do 6 and 1, so there's lots of different ways to get there. No problems at all getting that. All right, to 8, a lot of times with 8, I will just double the 4. So 90 doubled is 180, 6 doubled is 12. Add those together, I get 192. And then for 9, a lot of times I will go up to 10 and take one group away. But I have a lot of options here. I could take that group of 8 and that 1 and add them together. I like to go to that 5 in this case. 5 is a real nice, easy number to work with because of that 120. So I take 80 from that 96. I get 200. Add that 16 more, it's 216. So the nice thing about using this strategy is I have lots of different options to get to those numbers. And that really allows the students to go with their strength. So let's look at, we'll stick with those 24 water bottles. Let's say that we wanted to get 35 cases of those. Now I don't have to make that full ratio table. I just need to create what I want. And there's 2 ways that I can do this. So I could do groups of 24 or I could do groups of 35. So let's go ahead and let's just do groups of 35 for now. So when I do groups of 35, I need to get to 20 is going to be my first partial, and then to 4. Well, getting to 2 is easy. It's just a double. So 2 doubled is 70. And then to go to 20, I'm just going to scale that up. So that'll be 700. For 4, I can go back to that 2. I can double that again to get to 140. And then to get to 24, all I have to do is add those 2 groups together, that 20 and that 4, and I get to 840. Not bad at all. Now I could also do it the other way. There's a lot of flexibility in when you're doing smart partial products. So instead of doing groups of 20 or 35, some students may say, hey, you know what, I want to do groups of 24. Sure, no problem. So in this case, I would have to get to 30 and to 5. So to go to 2, I might go to 24 doubled is 48. And then get to 3, I'm just going to add those together, and I would get 72. Now 5, I've got a couple of different ways to do it. I always like to go to 10, so I'm thinking in my head, 241 group is 24, 10 groups would be 240. I half that, I get 120, no problem. Now some students may look, hey, I've got 2 and 3 there. 2 and 3 I know is 5, so if I add that 48 and that 72 together, then I would get 120. Again, a lot of flexibility. So I've got my 3, I've got my 5, but what I don't have is that 30. So I'm going to go ahead and scale up that 3 to get to 720. Now I'm going to add that 5 and that 30 together to get 35, and that would get me 840. So notice I've got 2 paths. They're both efficient. I like the first one a little bit better, but it allows the students to have the flexibility to get to the answer in a couple of different ways.